I'm Sari Cooper, a certified sex therapist and sex coach in New York City. I'll be your host to Sex Esteem, a new show where we will explore in all its expressions relationships and sex in the modern world. Tune in for fun-filled facts and entertaining tips to having a more pleasurable sex life.
So welcome everyone to another episode of Sex Esteem Countdown to V-Day 2021. I'm really excited and honored that I get to talk to two new innovators of sex toys, Vela and Kristin Fretz of Emojibator. And we've not met yet, so I'm so excited, and I know that we're on the same page in terms of the sex esteem model of having sexual self-esteem as well as confidence and knowledge around how your body works, whatever your body is, to have pleasure and enjoyment and maybe an orgasm or two. So why don't you start by just telling us how you started this business and before we sort of bring out the toys.
Okay, yeah. So, it's funny. I always was, sexually curious person, but, was kind of came on this idea as a whim. I was traveling as a musician, had a background in digital marketing, and said, what kind of product can I sell from the road where I could be anywhere, and brainstorming all these ideas, and obviously want to do something that it makes people happy, spread some love, and ended up on this idea for an eggplant emoji vibrator. Told Kristin about it. She says, "You're crazy," but I love it. And flash forward to ordering 6,000 vibrators, kind of just on a chance. Who knew it would happen? And ended up with a story in Cosmopolitan. So that kind of brought our brand into this like perfect storm of like emojis and sexual wellness in 2016. And the timing was just really great. And we realized pretty quickly we had an opportunity to not only, remove the taboo of masturbation, get people talking about sex, but also to deliver like a platform for education and to celebrate pleasure, and to make a really accessible product that maybe people didn't even know existed. And I think Kristin can kind of tell, how kind of she got interested into this whole world, and her story. I think it fits really nicely with the whole sex esteem,
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I remember I'm 2 years behind Joe in terms of like school years. So we met in college. I had just left my first job after college, came back home to New York, and was starting a new career in marketing. And but what I was doing was not really anything related to e-commerce or entrepreneurship in that sense. But Joe just said eggplant emoji vibrator, and for some reason it really clicked in my brain, but really from this lens of, wow, that's what I wish I could have bought, because I got to college and I didn't have an education system or parents who could articulate this reality without like shame or judgment, or in this reality meaning orgasms are safe and healthy and great, and not something to not teach people about. I learned about how to not get an STD, how to not get pregnant, how to apply a condom on a banana, and that that sort of summed it up.
There you go. That's all you need to know now.
Yeah.
Kids, go on out into the world.
Right? Yeah. So then when I got to college, I'll speed up the story, my friends gifted me a candy cane shaped vibrator. It was my 19th birthday, and it was the first time I'd ever seen a vibrator, used it. And it was one where I think it was from Spencer's or something. So you like pull the top off and it's just like this white stick underneath. So yeah, when 4 years later, when Joe's saying let's sell an eggplant emoji vibrator, I was like, oh right, I had a candy cane one, like that. I could see that, right? It's like weird, but you know, my whole thing was I was very hesitant about what would the world think, and I bring that up because I think that's just an inherent problem that in this whole thing, right? Is like I'm afraid to sell sex toys because I don't know what people are going to say about me or think about me. And my mom was a perfect example because when she found out, she was like, oh, what about your resume, like what are people going to say? And I was like, I have a great resume now, you know, and because I'm doing all these different things and using my skill set in different ways, and we're a legal business, you know, we're not doing anything wrong.
Well, it points
but
out
we
the
have this,
shame that's inherent and the taboo inherent in sexuality and the
yeah,
sexuality business per se. And I'm
right,
wondering also whether there's more inherent shame and embarrassment when you're a female owning a business like that versus a man, because you know, for generations, really for decades, the business of sex toys or any sort of porn or paraphernalia was run by men,
right.
right? And it was a, you know, it was a business. And it's very only recently, I must say, in the last maybe 20 years, that women have gotten in on the entrepreneurial spirit. So, what did she think would happen if you told people, yeah, I make sex toys?
Yeah, so I mean, I think Joe and I both shared that fear. Joe will say he thought, well, are people going to hate me for this? And I thought, well, are people going to be weirded out that it was created by a guy? You know,
Mm.
frankly, I was a bit naive to that reality that the sex toy industry was primarily run by men, just because I
Mhm.
didn't have any background knowledge about the sex space before we got into this. Quickly realized, you know, what you're describing, and but nonetheless, Joe and I used fake like pseudonyms as our last names. You know, because Joe was in a touring band, I had a full time job. I still have a full time job, so we just didn't want to put anyone else in our lives at risk because of this, you know, quote unquote dumb idea.
Mm.
Certainly not a dumb idea.
Right.
And so yeah, Joe, I'm curious what you think. But I remember, I mean, that was our first action item was we're changing our names. Like we're not gonna, you know, we don't want to assume that this is gonna go over okay.
A
Yeah,
nom de plume sort of thing, a nom de sex toy.
Yeah.
it was, maybe it was out of naivety, but like I just like I didn't want people to be like, oh, like this guy thinks that he knows everything about female pleasure, you know, and obviously, you know, I don't. And that's like part of sexuality is like discovery, exploring. The fact that everybody's body is different, like something that may be strong for someone is weak for someone else. And especially now as we've kind of as we've matured, as the business have matured, like we're thinking not only about male and female, but about, you know, beyond that, you know, non-binary, like how can we include everyone, you know, if you're disabled or, you know, white, black, or, you know, we want to include everyone in our marketing, everyone in our products. You know, we want to make sex toys that are beginner, advanced. You know, that's kind of the idea. You know.
And so I have to ask you, I'm gonna bring it out now. Where did you, so thank you for, we got this pretty quickly, so thank you. How did you come up with this, just basing it on an emoji, and why the eggplant? I don't want to
So
assume I know.
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, so especially around 2016, that was like when emojis were like, you know, everyone has them on every phone. It was probably like only the first or second iteration of them. I feel like we've probably had like 10 releases since. And the eggplant was just ubiquitously known as the penis emoji. So slipping into DMs, you might get like, you know, a an eggplant and a squirt, or, you know, just like 5 different eggplants, you know, that's the booty call. So yeah, I actually, the idea really came from me just like spitting this out, like, here's a dumb idea, here's a dumb idea, what about eggplant emoji vibrator? And my friend from high school, it was like a girlfriend that I dated in high school. I was like just rifling these off to her, and she's like, did you just say eggplant emoji vibrator? Like, that's the one, like that's what you have to do. And the rest kind of just followed. I mean, the eggplant is still the most popular one.
Is that,
You know, and
yeah.
yeah,
So
it's still the most
so
popular one.
so it's, I should just tell people, right? It's battery operated, so it doesn't need
Mhm,
charging. It
mhm,
has a lot of different settings. It's pretty easy to turn on. It's
10
not that
settings.
loud either, which is also really helpful. And it's what you can play with it in the bath and the shower.
It's waterproof. Yep.
Right. And you can use it with silicone as well as water-based lube. Is that right? No.
Just
Silicone.
water-based.
Yeah, silicone should not be used with silicone-based lube. We sell a hybrid lube that it's safe, but it's just you're not really supposed to use silicone lube with silicone
Right. I
toys.
wasn't sure what it was made of because we just got it. So
medical grade silicone.
Okay. And the colors, like your color. So who's the designer with it between the two of you? Both?
We
both,
do. Yeah.
Fun,
so they're
fun
all
poppy
really bright.
colors.
Yeah, they're all like eye-popping, eye-catching colors.
We want it to be different. I think there's kind of these two kind of groups in sex toys. You have like your like really fleshy big toys, maybe a black dildo or a flesh dildo, and something that's like really advanced, or maybe the fleshlight fits in that category. And then you have like your like femtech, like pastel color tiny vibrator with the case, and it's maybe like $150 for it. And I think we sit like really nicely in the middle where and again, we wanted to include everyone in these toys. We want them to be accessible. We intentionally are keeping it battery powered because it keeps the price point so low that anyone can get started. And we have USB toys. Just these ones are so fun and for everyone.
Okay.
I love that.
So tell me, so are you getting responses? And what I've been asking everybody in this series is, what have you been hearing from your customers during COVID? Maybe Kristin, you could talk to this.
Yeah, I primarily manage our customer support line too, so I definitely interact with customers a lot. I would say, just to take us back to when we first started, we were trying to discover like who is our customer, and it's really amazing that we're not just reaching, maybe like women identifying who want a vibrator. We're reaching like guys who want to buy it for their girlfriends, or husbands who want to buy it for their wives because they want to spice up their bedroom time. And we also met a lot of young moms who want to buy it for their 18-year-olds who they don't really have a good way to explain vibrators and orgasms to, and we're giving them this vehicle in the shape of an emoji that everyone trusts what that is. Like, I think that's the magic to what we're doing, is we're making a taboo object in the shape of something that you recognize, so you inherently like can't hate it. You know what I mean?
It's silly.
It's so silly that you have to like look at it twice and be like, okay, what's actually the purpose of it if you take away that veiny phallic design element that we're used to associating with sex toys. So that's like what drives Joe and I. Like, we know we have the answer. The problem is that institutions and the media don't want us to let everyone know that we exist, right? Like, we're not allowed to advertise on Facebook, and we're not allowed to have business PayPal accounts, and we're like, what pre-COVID, that would impact us being able to go to events and trade shows, being able to like sell products. Like, we'd be using our personal PayPal account. I mean, it's
I know. Well, I want to like jump in there because most of the public doesn't realize this, and the fact of the matter is that big corporations who are creating sex toys are actually allowed to advertise in certain places in the way that these smaller companies have been blocked, actually. And
actively
actively. So condoms are able to be advertised. And I'm sure you guys are aware of the big case that was made in New York City because of the
MTA.
I won't say the name, but the big advertising campaign that was on our subways before COVID was allowed. It was all about male pleasure and male sexuality, but when a company here wanted to do that for female pleasure, that was shut down. So there is still a big double standard. And in the field of sexuality, we know that men in their last sexual experience have come much more frequently. Maybe I think it's 89%, 93%. I don't have the stats. Whereas women haven't, as frequently, and there's a big orgasm gap, maybe like 30%.
Yeah.
So, and that has to do with lack of education, shame, and if you're thinking about partners and heterosexual partners, men aren't as knowledgeable, and women aren't as brave or courageous. Like, you have to be courageous to tell someone what feels good. And I think men haven't been as curious about female pleasure. It's kind of that down there kind of thing.
Yeah, we're calling it the orgasm gap, but it's really a knowledge gap.
Yeah, but also there's more to just the orgasm. It's the entitlement gap, maybe we should call it. And actually, the research shows that lesbians have a much higher frequency of orgasm because they know the equipment and they're not afraid to ask and show. And so tell me a little bit more about whether, we also know that during COVID, there's been a lot more loneliness due to the fact that people couldn't date or have a partner with them because of the isolation. Have you gotten, emails, information, calls from your customers around these kinds of things? Or did you see an increase in sales? Or
I like that question. I mean, we definitely have gotten the question a lot of, have you had more sales in COVID? And yeah, the answer is definitely yes. I think we tend to see seasonality patterns with our revenue, right? For holiday, summertime, like bachelorette season, all that. But yeah, to have March through, next holiday season all be, increased revenue for us, like that's sure positive for our business, not positive for the world. The silver lining I am finding now is that because we were all home and we all are stuck at home with not much to do, I think it gave people permission to spend time on themselves, right? And to think about themselves and say, you know what, yeah, I do like to masturbate when no one's around, and no one's around right now. So, and I think that permission of also not having to race from one social activity to the next, or commuting to work, we all just had more time. And maybe we all used not having enough time to masturbate or to explore our sexual curiosity as an excuse. So, I hope that that's why I think our product is so important, because of the accessibility of it. We can reach new shoppers who maybe aren't so proud to say, yeah, I want to buy a sex toy for $95. That's a lot to ask for people who aren't even comfortable admitting that they want to spend time on their self-pleasure and exploring themselves.
Right.
Yeah, I found that the media is starting to ask us those questions now of hey, do you find that people are, changing their habits? And I'm I think society has allowed us to evolve.
I agree.
I think I just want to say something to your point about time, because we know as sex therapists that most women need a lot more time to simmer and to build up arousal. And that's one of the secrets in the sauce, if you will. And yeah, you've had a lot more time if you're living by yourself. And we also know from the stats that women, and I have to look at the age group, but younger women have scored highest in loneliness, actually, if they're living alone. So actually, I always say sexual wellness, sexual health, sexual pleasure is also mental health. To have something to look forward to have something that's yours, to explore. It's really, really important for mental health as well.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I think self-care and, mental health care has been a really big trend of 2020. So that tied in with, the kind of some of the social stigmas, dropping around sex toys. I think that's what's contributed to the increased use of them. I think that, people are taking time to make masturbation part of their self-care routine.
Right. So one of the other things you sent me, another product in your line, I guess, were these bondage ropes with a little scissors to go with it. So tell me about how this came up and kind of where these ideas come up for new product lines. Is it from people asking you? Is it just, like, I think this would sell well? Like, where does it come from?
Yeah, I can take that first. So I want to also just share, I think we've learned how to come up with what products to offer based on, throwing ourselves into this industry. So when our first year, Joe and I went to Europe for a few weeks on a really great vacation, but also a work trip to go to like the Venus Adult Industry Conference. And we had a booth. We were across from the sex dolls and, like the VR porn folks. And the people of Germany were looking at our eggplant saying, why is it so tiny? I don't understand why it's not bigger, right? And we flew all the way there to say, oh shit, I guess they don't get the joke, right? They're probably a bit more comfortable. So we really felt grounded in, okay, we need to offer products for, our American-based audience who aren't so comfortable, exploring their sexuality. So like, let's use humor and just this like approachable design concept in everything we do. And just because of our small nature, we have found that, outsourcing our manufacturing costs as much as we can is going to help us grow as a business. So, the bondage rope came about because a combination of our biggest customers, like retail stores, and just our publicists, we all felt like the kink space had a lot of potential, bringing new customers into it, making it not this so like fetish focused concept. Right.
Black
like
colors.
this dark gothic, maybe sort of like aesthetic that I think mainstream culture puts on it. And that's because like we spent a lot more time as a business with NSFW, which is a really big adult sex club in New York City and around the country. So I just became more familiar and like informed and, to your point, knowledgeable about the what kink is and like who's in that world, and we wanted to be a part of it like in our own way. So that's why it's like rainbow colored and really silky. And we did an event with Lady Euphoria, who is a big bondage rope expert in New York, and I think we're just sort of dipping our toes into how else can we just bring more people into it, whether you use it as, a kink object or not. My friend said, oh, that looks like great jump rope. I could use that in my, pandemic situation. So yeah, Joe, what do you think about that one?
Yeah,
it looks like licorice, by the way. Like different colored licorice.
That's the unicorn color, right? Unicorn. We have a unicorn and funfetti. The idea
unicorn.
The idea is just to do something like fun and rainbow that you don't see in bondage. And also, being a vibrator company, we can't just make hundreds of vibrators forever. Like, what else can we offer our customers again, if we're getting people that this is their first vibrator, like, what's their next first thing? We think it might be this.
I had a question actually to go back to the emoji thing. Because it comes out of the sort of cute come on, if you will, for casual sex. Did you conceptualize this as much as more of a for casual sex when you first created it? Because it can slip in a purse or, in your pocket. It's really,
travel ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my excitement around the design was that it wasn't intimidating. When I looked at it, I understood what it meant. So I sort of felt more comfortable and confident giving it a try. And I felt like that logic would be enough for the average consumer to also like look at it, understand it's a vibrator, and be like, okay, yeah, maybe I should give that a try. Like, I trust it visually or, by association. So that's what I mean. Like when I, got my candy cane vibrator, right? That was the same thing. I was like, oh, this feels friendlier. And I sort of have to like unlearn. Yeah, I have to unlearn the shame and fear that, society and education taught me around my body and sexual health. And, the fact that we had like health night in 6th grade, I had to bring my mom to the middle school, right? Or she brought me, and, we had to watch in an auditorium about periods and, like, why isn't there an equivalent for orgasms and self-pleasure? And Joe and I want to be a small part of that, on the platform we've stumbled into.
So when
Yeah,
I
and
do my
don't know.
sex esteem, classes and talks, I really talk about the importance of play. And this is very
Mm.
playful, in terms of don't take yourself so seriously. Like you can
Right.
have fun, you can be awkward, you can fumble. It's about experimenting. It's a creative process. Joe, as you know, as a musician, I used to be a dancer and a choreographer. You have to sort of like play with something because you don't know what you're going to end up with.
Yeah, it's actually funny. We don't normally mention this, or it's not top of mind, but actually, that was one of the intentions. Is like bring more fun in the bedroom, like
Yeah.
laughing when you're relaxed, when you're laughing, like that. Sometimes those are the best like sexual moments. You know what I mean? Like you're in a real serious moment, and then something like silly happens in the bedroom,
Yeah. Right.
and that actually was one of our first intentions, kind of as like not really realizing all the other power that we kind of had and momentum we had. Um, but yeah. And also, I was gonna say, uh, having a toy that is like at this such kind of low price point. One of our biggest customers is GoPuff, which is like a convenience store delivery service. And when you said one night stand, I'm thinking like college kids or something, and like, hey, like let's spice it up tonight. I'm gonna go get some ice cream on GoPuff and also an eggplant vibrator. So
With your numbers, what is your most popular demographic in terms of age?
I think it's millennial,
Yeah.
so like 25 to 34.
Mm, okay. And you guys are based out of Philly?
I am.
Joe's in Philly. I'm in New York.
Oh, you
in
are in New
Brooklyn.
York. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've been remote the whole time. We were doing it before COVID. So we don't have like a retail store or anything like that. So we are proud of, just being lean and doing as much as we can, having as much impact as we can, and still doing the other passions we have in life. So
Great. So I always ask people this question, and it can be a really, quick and dirty answer. What do you wish you had known? What did you wish you had known when you were younger, that you know now, that really makes a huge shift in how you feel as a sexual person?
I love that question. I have one that I tell a lot because I think about that kind of question a lot with Emojibator. I think before I knew a sex toy owner like myself, I would have assumed that they must have just loved sex, like why would you want to be a sex educator or sex therapist if you didn't just love having sex? And as a vibrator owner, store owner, I don't have sex every day, and I don't want to, like, I don't know. I can get a lot of like joy in other parts of my life and in my relationship, and it's not really centered around sex. And I knew that this whole time, but it was really hard for me to like deal with that when I was single and dating. Because when you're on the apps, and when I was single and having Emojibator as my sort of fun fact, people immediately assume that I'm this like sex fiend and like really easy to get with because I own a vibrator company. So to your earlier point of like, is it different for me versus Joe? I think the reactions from other people make it different for me and Joe, but he and I don't, think about that when we make business decisions. We're just like both in it for the right reasons. And there are, of course, sometimes that I'm like, I think I know more than you because I have a vagina, but, I know his intention is really good, and he has the same goal as me to like, bring more laughter to the bedroom and to, make people realize that you don't, like, you can enjoy sex, you can love orgasms and not want to have them every day. Like, there doesn't need to be this extreme association with your sexuality. And I'm a lot more confident in that now because of my experience with Emojibator. But if I've been doing this for the past 5 years, I'm not really quite sure what information and like media I would be consuming to teach me that same outcome, right? Like, we always flag the shows like Broad City, Grace and Frankie as like really being groundbreaking and addressing vibrators, putting them on the main plot of the, and I love those shows, like just by coincidence. But I don't know if there's enough else out there in society to like be teaching what I sort of had to learn through a lot of trial and error and
Right.
figuring it out.
Okay.
Something again that's sitting between, porn and sex tech,
Right.
something that's fun. For me, this can apply to sex or not, but communication is key. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to say what you want. I think that could go sex and beyond, but I think that's my quick tip.
Oh, great. Good.
Wow, your
right.
answer was a lot quicker than mine, but I love that.
So I wish you both a pleasurable, enjoyable V-Day, no matter what you're doing and with whom or by yourself.
You too.
And
Thank you.
it was really nice to meet you guys, and enjoy. And hopefully we can maybe do some things in the future together.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to tell you, I love your necklace, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, looks great.
Yeah. I have people going, is that a wishbone? I'm like,
Yeah, kind of. You could wish upon it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good to see you. And you want to just tell people where they can find you?
Yes, emojibator.com. It's emoji, BATOR.com. No dashes, one word. And we're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere you can find us. YouTube.
Yeah. And if you like this this interview, there's more of them. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel, but you'll see clips of this on Insta, and that's Sex Esteem. So thanks again, guys, and hope to see you soon.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Bye.